Okay, so we are going to basically attach a diopter aperture sight system to a K31 rifle for pretty cheap, around $100. You gotta have some confidence, some skill, and be able to weld. What we're doing is we're taking a Lyman 17 AUG and a TOZ Russian aperture sight system, and this will get welded to the receiver of the rifle. This actually is going to make an interference fit into the sight hood on the front of the rifle. So I was gonna buy a Saint Marie or an actual Swiss system, but I was shopping around and it was like, I'm gonna drop like $400, maybe even $500 putting it on the rifle, and I'm pretty sure that if I stick with this, I'm gonna be able to make this work. Anyways, so this Lyman 17 AUG, it has this dovetail, 3/8 dovetail base, right? And it is 571 thousandths wide. It's 633 thousandths long. And when you look at the front sight hood on the K31, it like fits in here. It like almost fits in here perfectly, right? It's going to be an interference fit when we're done with all this. I'm just going to get like a copper drift, and I'm going to bang the thing in here. But I need a plan before I do that, and the plan is simply this. I'm basically taking a 3/8 end mill, and I'm cutting away some material in the middle of this bottom of the dovetail, like you see in this picture here. And then I'm also taking like 188 thousandths end mill, and I'm cutting away a slot in this dovetail. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some clearance around the front post so that I can line up this sight system with the center of this sight system and have it lay on the same target 100 yards away. Using my iron sights, I'm going to be able to see through this slot right here and be able to, line something up with my back sights and my front sight. And after I get everything lined up like that and I move things around and make sure it's still on target, maybe 200 or 300 yards out there, I'm going to weld the thing on. And then that's my plan, right? And I think I'm going to be successful because I can basically take this edge right here and I can basically make this parallel with the rear sights. That way I know I have like good alignment relative to the bore of the gun. That way like if this is the firearm, that way this thing isn't tilted this way too far or that way too far when I go to weld it to the receiver. I'm going to be able to line up the top of the rear sights with this edge right here. And that'll help me with the orientation here. And then again, if this is the gun, when I weld this thing to the receiver, I can basically adjust this thing in and out, and I can make sure that it's still lying on my target 100 yards out there before I weld everything and permanently set it into place. Yes, this is hardened material. Like a penny won't scratch it. It leaves a lot of copper behind. Something hard like a nail or a screw has a hard time scratching this. But I don't think this is tool steel. And I'm going to attach this thing right about here everybody. And even if this is some kind of metal that cannot be welded, I feel it's better than pins and fasteners. And even if I weaken this part of the rifle, who cares? What all the action, all the business that this receiver is doing is happening up here, where it grabs onto the locking lugs of the bolt. So I don't care if I make a weak spot right here. It should be, everything should be fine. Let's get to it. Oh, I forgot to mention, sorry. If you look at this picture, what you can see is I have actually cut away some material after taking this thing apart. You have to take this wheel off here in order to get this whole windage assembly off of this lead screw and this dovetail guideway. These are just pins. They're not tapered pins. They're just straight, like dowel pins that go through each one of these wheels. You bang them out with a smaller pin. But what I have done is I have basically taken like a letter F drill bit, and I've actually drilled out a portion of the threads right here. You can see it better in this picture that I'm going to show you right now. And what I have done is that allows me to basically get a little bit more windage adjustment to the right-hand side of the rifle. I can actually bury, I can actually, move this thing a little further off to the right, because it's not hitting hard on this flange that you see right here. It's actually, the flange is actually sinking down inside of this thing moving along the dovetail. Like I said, let's get to it. This is gonna work. All right, so I got some grease on the on this front sight. I'm gonna support the rifle on a sturdy workbench on this wooden block right here. And like I said earlier, I'm gonna take a copper drift, and I'm gonna bang this thing in here. I'm supporting the gun here because I don't want to move the sight on the barrel. I don't know if I mentioned if I put grease on it or not, so it wouldn't gall inside of the sight posts. It's about as far as I can go like this. Think whatever, I'm just gonna bang this thing on. It's going on. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna finish the rest of this off on this hatchet in this bench vise. Yes, just like that. All right. It's on there. And like I mentioned earlier, I thought you're going to be able to see down there. But I got clearance all the way around the front hood. So I'm going to be able to use my iron sights to find what I'm looking at way out there. Oh yeah. And that's not going to move. I can tell by the way I put it inside of the underneath the hood of the rifle. It's in there to stay. I didn't break a lot of corners. I just did some moderate buffing to take away the sharp edges, but I didn't significantly break any corners. And I don't know if you can see that or not. It kind of scraped some material off of the lineman item. It didn't really seem to hurt the Swiss part of the rifle, the front sight hood. And the front sight hood's still on there, nice and good and snug. After you're done with all this, clean the barrel out so you don't have, not the barrel. Yeah, clean the barrel out so you don't have filth and debris stuck in there. It's going to cause safety problems down the road when you actually fire this thing for the first time. All right, so I was kind of banging it back and forth inside this area. This thing, I was banging back and forth inside of the hood of the front sight, and I've gotten to a situation where it is no longer like pressed on there. It's, you know, it's loose. So this metal here is definitely softer than the metal on your front sight hood. And you can kind of see where it made contact there. It made contact there. You can see again the clearance that I cut so it wouldn't interfere or move the front sight while I'm installing it. I'm going to install it on here, just like you see. And I have no choice but to weld it in there so it's not going to move on me. Not bad news. It's just a bump in the road. All right, so here's my welding jig, my setup. I have the lineman sight off. I have the TOZ sight on. It's being held on with this C-clamp right here. I have taken the iron sights and I have lined them up over here on my garage door with that mark right there. And then I drew a second mark here. This is the distance between the top of the front sight post and the center of the lineman sight above it. So that's the offset right there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this on camera. You can actually see through this aperture. Where is it? You can actually see the, whatever. You can see all the way down through the rear sights, and then you can see your front sight post, like through the hole in the aperture, all right? So that is all of the adjustability that I have left in this. Now remember, this flange right here can get buried inside of this block that moves in this guideway. So I got about 20 clicks in this direction still to adjust for windage in that direction. Got all the travel I want in that direction, obviously. And then again, I don't know how well this is going to show up in the camera, but I've taken this back flat surface here underneath, and I kind of lined that up with this flat surface here on the top of my rear sights. So right now, the way this is set up, if I were to weld this on here, this is in perfect alignment with my rear sight and alignment with my front sight. This mark right here. But that's not how we're using this thing, right? How we're using this thing is we're going to take this lineman sight right here. All right? And again, I'm going to weld that on. Now what I need to do is I need to raise up this thing. I need to raise the elevation until basically this, that, and that here, this guy up on top right here line up. Okay? And then once I get that lined up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen up this set screw here, right? And I'm going to slide this thing in and out. And I'm going to make sure that my point of aim isn't changing over there in the garage door. Over there. The proof is in the pudding. I have to go out and actually shoot this thing after this is all said and done with. And I will. And I will share with you the results. And I'll also make adjustments. And we'll do the math, and we'll make sure that the bullet is landing where it's supposed to land. Doing the adjustments, doing the math. This is going to work. You can do it. This is easy. All right, here it is. This is the finished product. With the front sight as high as it is off of the original equipment front sight post. The rear sight is quite high. It's out of the way of the bolt. I can operate... Sorry, I don't really want to show everybody my serial number. I can operate the safety just fine. I can decock the gun just fine, doing what I have done. I actually have 44 clicks in this direction, so it was a lot better when everything was said and done with. And I want to share some lessons learned that lesson number one, thank you, Igor. There's a guy named Stoveman007 on eBay that was able to hook me up with a lot of the parts on this rifle, and he was able to kind of like help me answer some questions I had about all the TOZ items that are on this rifle right here. This is like really the only modification that I have made to this stock. I just basically cut out like a little piece right here in order to make room for this guy. Obviously, when I use this rifle, because of the aperture size in the back of this sight back here in the rear, it's going to be quite it's going to be quite forward like this. The orientation of this thing is super critical. So if this thing is pointed down like that or up like that, when you go to adjust your windage, your elevation is going to change on you and you're going to get frustrated. So I made this part perfectly parallel with, you know, my front sight, or my rear sights, excuse me. I'm going to go out to the range and shoot this thing, and if it works very well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut and grind these welds off right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pound out the front sight, and I'm actually going to reattach the front sight down lower, closer to the bore axis on this gun. And that'll allow me to lower this and get this sight system closer to the bore axis, which will ultimately lead to better accuracy, I feel. Right now, I don't have a whole lot of elevation left in this adjustment. That's another reason why I'm gonna reattach that front sight lower, closer to the bore axis. I think this is a TOZ number 1 or a number 2. I'm not sure. I think it's a number 1. I've seen it referred to it as that on other eBay auctions, or a Type 12 to help you guys out. The dovetail base that I have attached here, actually it isn't flat on the inside here. It's actually got like a concave shape to it. And it's relieved in the very middle. So if I take this off, you're not gonna be able to see it, but there's a relief carved out in the middle of this part. When you're going to weld this to the receiver, you're gonna wanna make sure that it's not, you know, tilted this way into the relief, cut into this dovetail. This is an 11mm dovetail. I had to cut a little bit of clearance on the rear sight from my thumb. So again, I'm going to probably use it in this position, and I just needed to make a little bit of room back here for my thumb so I can get a good grip on this thing. The rear sight aperture on this gun is, or on this TOZ sight, is 1.5mm. I don't know if that's too big or not. We're going to find out. And then also, another thing that I want to discuss with you guys is, in hindsight, after I got all this done with, I should have put some like counterbores along this guideway, this dovetail, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it would be kind of like a resting place for the set screw on the rear sight, so that I could always confidently go to like a known position. That way I don't have to keep screwing with all these adjustments back here. I think that's it. I'm going to post a video within the next couple weeks of how it shoots. I don't care what you think about what I have done. I paid about $150 for this gun. I don't know, like 15, 20 years ago. And I have gotten more than I ever could out of it. And I've always wanted something like this on this gun, because this gun is more accurate than I am able to manipulate it. This gun has better accuracy than I am able to achieve with the iron sights that came from Schmidt-rubin. Yeah. So say what you want in the comments. I don't care. This thing is gonna like totally. This thing's gonna totally kill out there. Peace.